Hi, folks. Welcome to Stand Up, the regular Monday show on the Coffee Club, the internet voice of commonsenseconversation.com. Pour yourself a cup of coffee, pull up a chair, get ready to enjoy this week's show.
Are you coasting toward retirement? Or are you already there and wondering if this is all there is? Maybe you settled for average so far, but in the home stretch of your life, you don't think that's good enough. Set your sights high and design your perfect day, then make it happen. Take charge and design your lifestyle. Stop by Ralph Carlson blog, www.ralphcarlsonblog.com, and learn how to take control of your life.
Hi, folks. Welcome to the Stand Up, Monday morning show for commonsenseconversation.com. Right off the bat this morning, I've got to apologize to y'all. I'm going to whip on the TSA one more time, and it probably won't be the last time. But they are so easy. They're such an easy target for anybody that wants to show how overbearing our government is becoming, how Gestapo-like our government is becoming. The Transportation Security Agency claims to do a good job of protecting us. They want to keep us safe. They use that safety to justify some of the Gestapo-like tactics they use. Well, we're going to talk about some of their acts today, some egregious acts of theirs that show just what they are. Compare these two stories and decide for yourself just how effective the TSA is at protecting you and your family and our skies. First story comes from CBS TV in New York. Investigators up there say that fella came into the United States on a Virgin Airways flight from Nigeria. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the guy's name, but he's Nigerian. And he was on Virgin America flight 415 to Los Angeles from JFK after having arrived on a Virgin Atlantic flight from Nigeria. He was on the flight without a valid transport. He was on the flight without valid ID. You know how he got on the flight? He got on it with a boarding pass that was not his boarding pass, that was issued for a flight that was the previous day that had been canceled. Made it onto the flight. International flyer came into the country without a passport, no ID, and with a boarding pass for a flight that didn't take off, and if it had taken off, it would have been the day before. Let's see. Let me go over those details one more time just so that we're clear on it. He had no valid passport on an international flight, and that didn't raise any questions. He didn't have a valid ID, and that didn't raise any questions. He had an expired boarding pass for a flight that was the previous day that had been canceled. The flight never even took off, and it wasn't his boarding pass anyway. But that didn't raise any questions. You know what did raise questions, though? Not on this particular flight. This guy got away with it. This guy could have done anything, apparently. I guess if he had had a pilot's ID, he could have flown the flight. TSA kind of fell down on the job there. But you know where they don't fall down on the job? You know what doesn't raise questions? Or actually, what does raise questions? When we come back from a word from one of our sponsors, I'm going to tell you what raises questions with the TSA. I'll give you a little hint. She's elderly. She's 95 years old. She's dying of cancer. She has a lump in her adult diaper that raised questions. We'll be back in just a couple of seconds.
So let me get right to the point. If you wanna learn 3D or programming, AI or design, head over to my site, shadesofadream.com.
From KTLA.com, website for KTLA TV in Los Angeles, we get this story. It's the story of that little old 95-year-old lady in a wheelchair, dying of cancer, trying to get home to her family so she can be around them in her last days. She had a lump in her diaper. She didn't have a passport, probably, because she wasn't on an international flight, but I'll bet you $5 she had an ID. I'll bet she had a valid boarding pass, too. But she had a lump in her depends. She wasn't let on the flight. TSA insisted they had to inspect her diaper, so her daughter, who was traveling with her, took her to a bathroom in the airport, and they removed the adult diaper and took it back to the screener. The lady had to fly without a diaper. Maybe that was okay with her. I wouldn't like flying with a diaper either. But then I don't commonly wear diapers. It's probably a little bit uncomfortable for her, not to mention embarrassing. 95-year-old lady from another generation, when those kind of things you just don't talk about. And all of a sudden everybody around the TSA screening area knows about diapers, knows she has one, knows she has a lump in it, and knows that she has to bring it to them for inspection. Yeah, she had a boarding pass, though. The TSA defended themselves. They said that while every person and item must be screened before entering the secure boarding area, TSA works with passengers. Yeah, right. To resolve security alarms in a respectful and sensitive manner. That's what the federal agency said. We have reviewed the circumstances involving the screening and determined that our officers acted professionally and according to proper procedures. Well, screw the damn procedures. Doesn't anybody use judgment anymore? You know that's what zero tolerance is when you just look at a book and you say, well, that's what the book says, so that's what I'm going to do. That's zero tolerance. You know what it is? It's not zero tolerance, it's zero judgment. It's zero brains, it's zero thinking. Jean Weber was the lady's daughter. She told CNN's Frederick Whitfield on Sunday that the security officers may have been procedurally correct, but she still does not believe they were justified, especially given her mother's frail condition. Sounds like a reasonable lady. She's quoted as saying that if this is your procedure, which I do understand, I also feel that your procedure needs to be changed. Now, there's an idea that makes sense. The Gestapo-like thugs that work for the TSA sexually molesting your sisters and your mothers and your daughters, and maybe you when you get on a flight, need to stop molesting the public. That's a procedure change I can go along with. That would be a really good change in procedure. Maybe then the old lady wouldn't have had to change her depends. You know, folks, I tell y'all every single time we talk, we're turning into a police state. We're turning into Nazi Germany. What used to pass for law enforcement in this country is turning into the Gestapo. But don't pay any attention. Just move along. There's nothing to see here. When are we going to stand up? When are we going to say enough is enough? When are we going to remind law enforcement, regulatory agencies, our senators and representatives, and everybody else, right down to our local elected officials, when are we going to remind them? This is the United States. We're a democratic republic. We have freedoms. We have a Bill of Rights. And if you people don't get that, we can see to it that you need to fill out your resume and get it all polished up and ready. Two things, people. If you're seeing this video on the blog, commonsenseconversation.com, go over there in the right sidebar. There's a little widget over there where you can put in your address, zip code, click a submit button, and back will come the name, address, telephone number, and email address for your senators and your representatives to Congress. Call them. Write them. Call them and write them. When they have a public forum, confront them. Every single time you're in contact with one of your elected officials at any level, federal, state, county, municipality, always end every conversation reminding them of one thing. We don't work for you. You work for us. And then you might add a little tagline. And you can be fired if you don't quit pissing us off. See y'all next week. I'll try to stay away from the TSA next time. There's probably somebody else out there that we can beat on, though. Well, folks, that's about all for this show, but remember, the WJMP network is constantly adding new shows on different topics from different blogs. Y'all can click on the WJMP link on any of the blogs that carry WJMP programming and check the show schedule and get a short description of the show, so check back often. If you don't mind, turn the lights out on the way out, okay? And remember, y'all come back now. You hear?